it's more important that it's not some wording on the wall or people just saying it. I think a culture is something that employees should feel. And I think that HR is playing a very important role in keeping that alive.
Welcome to the first episode of Room for Talent. My name is Cindy Kasanmoesani, Head of HR at Corendon Hotels. Today marks an exciting milestone for me, and not only is this the first episode of Room for Talent, but it's also my debut as a podcast host, taking me proudly beyond my comfort zone. The advice that Alan Scuri, the wonderful person behind this podcast, gave me was to start this podcast series with somebody I know and I feel really comfortable with. So a few people came to mind, but one in particular. My guest is someone I not only deeply respect professionally, but someone who also played an important role in my own journey. It's Nicole Bon. We worked together at Corendon Hotels, where she was my manager at the time. Nicole is a true HR professional and has a strong love for people, culture in the hospitality industry. And therefore, I asked her to be my first guest in this podcast. Could you tell us, Nicole, first of all, welcome and wonderful to have you here and that you really want to be my first guest. So can you give us some more background about you and what you do today?
Absolutely. But first of all, Cindy, thank you for the invitation and for your warm and kindly words. And it's also my first time. I had some speakers experience on big podia, but I never done a podcast. So we join our hands together and make it a wonderful podcast together. So yes. I think for everything, there's a first time.
Yes.
A little bit about me. I have my roots in the hospitality industry. I came from a family who had an own restaurant and bar. So I think that's where the love began. I did the hotel management school in The Hague. And afterwards, I started my career in one of the hotels at Schiphol. But then I moved away from the hospitality industry. I worked in the casino business, but also in the pharmaceutical industry. But then again, in 2019, we've met, and that was the time I came back to the hospitality industry. And at the moment, I'm currently busy with my career, progressing my career as an HR director, people and culture within Corendon, but then for the tour operator and the airline.
Yeah. So happy to have you back.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's in a nutshell.
That's in a nutshell, yeah. When you think about back to the moment that you chose AR, what originally pulled you towards this field? Because you chose, you did hotel school and ended up in HR. So.
Yeah, we got the opportunity within the hotel management school to also do a minor, and that I think I was in my third year, and we could do a minor in train the trainer, and that was actually the first time I really was exposed by coaching and helping other people. The minor was set up to help the first year students to work more together as a team, work as team building, but also coach them and help them to come through the first year, but also to help them with big projects. They need to deliver an entrepreneurial project and assignment. So we were there to help them and to coach them. And I think there where the love began for HR. And I think that's what I like to do. Helping people to develop, coach them, but also help them when they struggle with some issues. Not only on a professional level, but also sometimes on a personal level.
Okay. So that was kind of a long time ago.
A long time ago.
But if you, so that was all new to you, and that's where kind of the love grew. But if you had to describe your current role to you, like 15 years ago, what you do now, what would have surprised you most about it?
I would never expect I would be back in the hospitality industry. But that's where I think the blood goes where it. So that's really part of my DNA. So I've moved away. I worked for startup companies. I worked for fintech companies. Nothing to do with hospitality at all. But actually, they persuaded me to, I think in 2019, to come back to the hospitality industry. And at that time, I worked for a fintech company. So we're really with IT guys, developers, front-end developers, back-end developers, and nothing to do with the hospitality industry at all. So they did quite a good job at the time to move back. And I've never felt sorry about it. No regrets.
No, because you have seen a lot of different industries, and you're also, well, back in the hospitality, like you say, the blood runs deep, and I think when you get a little bit, it's contagious working, like in the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
But you've always been in HR, so what part of your work still gives you the same energy as it did like when you first started or like 10 years ago?
Yeah. I think it's maybe the level that I'm working at the moment. So I can really drive strategy and be important for people in their career, but also for the company itself. So really on the executive level, I can really, hopefully make a difference. And that's also what I like the most. If you just ask me to just run a HR department, that's not a challenge at all for me. So I always want to make a difference and always would like to improve. So if you can give me that gives me a lot of energy. And Cindy, I joined Corendon back at 2019. We all know what happened in March 2020, so it was not the most easiest time at all. No, it's really the COVID time, but particularly during that time, we as HR could really make a difference for all those people. Of course, we had to let go a lot of people. But if we can do it in a respectful way, just helping them, guiding them, supporting them, I think that's HR. We can, that's a heavy task, but also a very grateful task to do that.
Yeah, that was a really hectic and heavy time. I still remember that I was in the office crying about the idea that we had to let go of a lot of people, and then we just wiped our tears and was like, okay, let's do this. We have to get to the crisis. But if you look back on that period, what kind of lesson did you get out of it? What did you learn about yourself in that time?
I think the persuasion. I think I know that I can get through hard times, but it also affected us. I think also personally. I think everybody in COVID time also had their personal issues with children, with other challenges you're having, probably the concerns about your parents. So it was already a challenging time in my personal life. And then it was really hectic on my professional life as well. And if I look back, I don't know how I just kept going. But I think the most important lesson I learned, it was really what we did at time at the team effort. And I think that's the most beautiful thing within hospitality. What I felt, comparing to other industries, the team spirit is so strong because you work, a hotel is open 24/7. People also see each other. It's part of their personal life as well. And the way how it's in their DNA with people who love hospitality. They like to take care of people, and the way how everybody was there for each other. It doesn't matter in what kind of department you worked. It was a shared assignment that we had to do. And we just had one common goal, just get through COVID times. And hopefully we were there supporting each other. I think that gave me a lot of strength. Yeah.
I share that thought. It was like really doing the team effort together and just trying to remain sane in all of the chaos, of course.
Yeah.
I really saw you as a true leader, getting everybody together and just doing the job, but also being there for each other. Um, if looking back on that, um, if you look at your younger self, what kind of leader would you thought you would become, or was that something that wasn't on your mind when you stepped into your career in the hotel school or later on?
To be honest, never thought I would be a leader. I think that was no ambition at all of me. I think at that time, if you look back, I was so shy and so modest. I would hate it to be put in the front and to expose to a lot of people and making decisions and leading people. But I think you're slowly growing into that, and it's not. Like you said, it was one of my ambitions to become a leader. I just love my job. And then you slowly developing in your career. And yeah, and look now, I made it as a director of HR. But actually, I love to be a leader and working together with a team and see what we're capable of. If we're all working together, have the same common goals and actually helping the organization developing and growing, but also the people within them. Yeah.
I can imagine that that COVID was like one of those defining moments that really shaped you as a leader. Are there other moments in your career when you look back on it that kind of defined that leadership within you?
Yeah, of course. I think everybody has some met some heroes within their careers. And if I look back, I think it was 2016 when I worked with a startup company, but unfortunately we had to close that business. And the owner of the company already stepped back a few months ago, and then an interim managing director came in. Actually, the director was the COO of the group. And that was such a great leader in all kind of aspects. He gave guidance, he gave priority, he brought a lot of peace. And he was really a true people manager. So we learned a lot from him, and especially myself. And the way he was, I think at that time he did 3 jobs, but every time I sat down with him and talking about the priorities, he really gave me the feeling that he had all the time in the world. He was there only for me, was there to coach me, to guide me, and to make sure I could deliver, and was helping me just to do my job. And I think that's a real talent if you give somebody the feeling that he's totally there and dedicated for you and helping there. And his door is always open. I could always approach him. And I thought, how does that guy doing it? I think he has, with all the jobs that he's doing, his span of control at that time was huge, and with all his responsibilities. But every time I spoke to him, he knew a lot of personal things. He remembered things. And that really made a difference for me. I thought, wow.
Did he
and
ever
then you
tell
see,
you?
I always, yeah.
Sorry. Did he ever tell his secret, how he did it, how he does it?
Yeah, he said it was also due to his family life. He could really make a distinction between work and his private life. And his wife, Isabella, was always there, brought some peace, make sure he set also the right priorities for his family. And not that he say it is only work, but he found some peace in his private life, and that made him able to focus and give them the focus and the energy to fully be present when he was working.
Okay. And did you take some of those learnings with you in your daily leadership skills? Something that you...
I'm trying, but I think that's part of my. It's up to my team to decide if I'm able to do so. I'm far more chaotic than he is, because when he was entering the room, he was bringing so much peace. And I think, if I'm entering the room and I had a busy day, I'm all over the place. So, but sometimes it's good to think back about him, and hopefully that brings also some peace. Yeah. Maybe doing more yoga and 2 more mindfulness sessions, that I can really be in the moment, present, and bring some peace.
Yeah. Is it something that you execute already, or is it still a learning process?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's quite a hectic time, but we're actually facing with Corendon now. I think it's crazy times with everything that's happening in the world, and anticipating as a company towards it. So that made it especially important to stay calm and bring peace, and also towards the rest of the team members, and not only with my own team, but the rest of the company, that they feel trusted, they feel safe, and not bringing any insecurity in the direction where the company is going. So, yeah.
Okay. Have you ever experienced a period of doubt in your career? Because we're always talking about what goes well, but we met our heroes, but we also met our devils somewhere along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had that doubt, and I think it's, and you were actually part of that as well, together with Anne, another colleague, that when I left Corendon in 2022, and I didn't have another job yet, and I said, I will never go back in HR. Never.
And here we are.
Maybe, you can maybe remember those words.
Yeah.
And during COVID time, it was tough. And at that time, we were also opening a hotel at Curacao. So I think it was February 2020, when we had a big recruitment event at the island. I think we recruited more than 150 people there. And 1 month later, we need to let all those people go. And we all know we don't have the same social security system in Curacao as we have in the Netherlands. So there was a big impact of all those people. And that really hit me. And I think, oh my God. And if you look back at my career at that time, I love building. I love working for startups together, making a company bigger and successful. And actually at that time, within COVID, we were only downsizing the company and letting people go. And I said, oh my God, I hate that part of my job. And I want to pursue my career in a totally different direction. I've even thought of starting my own company, a small lunch restaurant, very small, very nice, just serving people, making some nice food, with nothing to do with HR anymore. But ta-da! It's,
you kind of failed there.
The love is still there. The love is still there. Yeah, really had to dust it off a little bit, but it's still there. Yeah.
So you're still, you're still part of hospitality and HR. So, so that kind of fills the way. Can you share an experience when you saw someone grow under your leadership and what it meant to you personally?
I think I have several examples. I think within my career, it's also sometimes comes with if we have a nice, good trainee within your team, and you see them growing, and it's their first experience within HR. And I also always hope that you can also pass the love for HR. And when they turn out their career and being really an HR manager somewhere, that is really amazing. And I also had it within my past job, my last job. There was somebody working there, very shy, very modest, and she really grow and was exposed to a lot of different challenges, but she took it on, gave her confidence. And then you saw actually every day you saw her growing. And I think that's if you just give people trust, but not letting them go fully, but being on the side and coaching them, I think they can do miracles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're kind of a miracle worker too, huh?
I hope so. But I don't have that magic stuff for me. Yeah.
So that's.
But I think you have the same, I think, Cindy, within your role as well. Sometimes when you come to a certain level within the organization, you also feel the responsibility for a team and let people grow. And I also see that sometimes I can recall some nice compliments they were giving you from people within the kitchen or on other levels, that you also made some differences within people's lives. Not within your own team, I think within the company. I think it's also maybe nice to share.
Yeah, that's very sweet. That's I think it's when you go into HR for the of course right reasons, is that we like to take care of people, and that goes beyond our teams. And I'm not in the same hotel every day anymore, but I have the privilege to go everywhere. And I'm just curious about people and how they're doing, and to help them out, to help them grow also, but also just to ask them how you're doing. Usually then the stories come, and also the complaints, and like, because you listen. And it always makes us feel good when people tell you that you made their day with just some small remarks, or just giving out a compliment. I'm still getting that into the organization, to be more resourceful with complimenting people that they also walk by, just to see how everybody's doing. My job is just to facilitate and make everybody happy, I always say. So on one hand, I think we have the best job still, but also sometimes the easiest job. Just make everybody happy. So.
Yeah.
From your perspective, when we are looking from your career to HR, but also in hospitality in general, what do you think is truly working right now in attracting the right people for the hospitality industry?
I think, but that's, of course, times is changing. If you look also at the different generations that we're having, but it's not one size fits all. And we actually experienced it also already within the hotels that we were working for. We were all working for Corendon hotels, but every hotel was also different. So it's also tailor work that we're doing. It's people have different ambitions, and that's what we also see. The way how work is positioning the current days and in people's lives, it has a different place in their life. If we look back at the years, maybe my two daughters always say boomer, and my really says. But at my time, it's just It's just work hard, and that's what you're taught, and that's how you were raised as a child. If you just work hard, you will get there. But it's not the case anymore. People have different expectations of work. Work is more how they work and facilitate their personal goals, what they want to achieve, what's in there for them. And there's no right or wrong. It's just the way how work is perceived nowadays. Also regarding the flexibilities, but also the impact now of all the automation, digitalization, and also bringing in AI. Those developments go so quickly at the moment that we also require different competences and different type of people within the company. So we have to stay close of how we use all our resources, and then especially our human resources. And it's just a big shift, I think, how we look at people and what they should bring. And I believe that AI can absolutely not replace our workforce, especially not in hospitality, because it's especially also what the personalities of each and every person also bring to our guests, to be authentic, and that's really also still make a difference to it. But it's not easy nowadays, especially when the labor market is under pressure. It's going to be more costly. It's still quite expensive. And we also had it when we had to build up the teams again after COVID, that we had to recruit abroad. So also get people in from other countries. It also has a big impact on the current teams and to be more international. But I think if you look at the resilience of the teams within hospitality, that's really amazing. They can cope with so many things. They are so flexible and so resilient. So I think that can never be replaced by AI. But that's my personal opinion.
No, I think I agree on that. But I think the whole the pressure on the labor market, and also the entrance of AI in our society, makes that I think it forces us to look at employment in a different way. Because we're not gaining any people with it. The task force becomes smaller and smaller. Why do you think that AI has a part in hospitality? Why do you think it's applicable, and where not?
Yes, of course, there's room for AI there, with all the repetitive tasks that can be taken away. I think behind the scene, if you look at all the back offices, but also for the people with checking in, make it more easier. But also all the financial procedures, with payments, with stuff. I think there's still a lot to gain. And we can also do it in a different way, but we already see that we have also the digital checking in, the online checking ins, that's already going on. And we can learn a lot more about our guests also through to AI. So that can make it more personal and more tailor-made. So we can also use it in our benefits to learn more about our guests, to give a more tailor-made guest experience towards them.
And how do you see the role of HR within this whole new era with AI? Where is our role?
Currently, we see that just to educate them and how to use AI in a very responsible way, in a more ethical way. I think we still have to make some steps to make sure we not throw everything into AI, or an open AI that make it really, really dangerous, but use it in a very responsible way. But also ask yourself the question, why are we putting things to AI? What we want to gain from it. So that make it very, very important. but it can be used. I'm not a specialist in AI, not at all. But I think we also is our responsibility to make sure that we educate our teams to use it in a very good, honest, and respectful way.
And if we take that into a broader scope, because I totally agree with you that I think that HR also needs to guide an organization in the use of AI and also to think about how we can use it, but also the adaptability of it. But why do you think that HR can make the biggest impact in hospitality in general?
I think it's also like we already addressed, it's still a very tight labor market. So once, for example, if we have a vacancy, I think it's also up to us to challenge our managers if we still need this position, or can we just fill those needs and those resource needs in another way? Can we just work more smarter? We always say smarter than harder. That makes it really, really important. And for example, if we have a vacancy, for example, in our back office, we're doing all the rotas, all the scheduling, all those kind of things. That's actually a perfect example that nowadays can be done by AI or can be done by tooling that we have with workforce planning. So actually, we don't need those kind of humans or persons anymore to fill those kind of tasks, do those kind of tasks. So that's also make it a very good combinations where we can use our resources more effectively. And then we hopefully have more focus on how we can deliver the perfect guest journey in all those kind of things. And I think it's up to us to address those challenges that we're having and how we use our resources. But also challenge our managers if they really need a person to do the work, but also maybe some other intelligent tooling.
Yeah, it's all about people in the end. And everything that can be done by AI, I think we should go there in the future. But people together create culture, and culture is like, it's very abstract, but it's very important. What do you think? What creates a culture where people genuinely want to stay within the company?
I think it's due to a lot if people feel seen and heard nowadays. And if a company can also bring something to them personally, not only it's always give and take, but nowadays it's very important. Of course, and everybody signs a contract, and you have to deliver some efforts and some jobs, and in return you get paid. But nowadays it's far more than just a transactional agreement that we're having with each other. And like you already said, it's normally the culture and the companies that make it different for people. And that's why I think it's very important in the selection process that as a company, you're very aware that the other people sitting at the end of the table is also what's in there for me. And they need some kind of fulfillment of their personal needs and how that work. It's not only seen as work anymore for the current generations. It's bigger. They ask for companies who have sustainability on their agenda. They want to make a difference in society, for example. So it goes far beyond delivering a project or a product or service. It's also, like you said, how you as a company take your responsibility with all the pollution, with all the how we deal with poverty in the world. Is the company giving enough back to the world? So that makes it very also important, and that also shapes a culture of giving back, I think.
Yeah, and if think we agree on the fact that a culture becomes more and more important for new candidates, new employees. Do you think that the role of HR also evolved with that? Does our role become different when culture becomes more important?
Totally, but I think that's the whole development of HR as we see the last decades. I think decades ago it was more like transactional. We make sure people signing a contract, make sure they don't do anything against the law, and in the end they get paid for it in the salary in the end of the month. But that's changing all the time, but all those kind of tasks can already be delivered by some systems and things. So I think where we can really add value is make sure that we keep the culture strong. The culture is also, how do you say that, clear to everyone? Because sometimes it's more important that it's not some wording on the wall or people just saying it. I think a culture is something that employees should feel. And I think that HR is playing a very important role in keeping that alive and make sure it's embedded in everything that we do. But it's a shared responsibility, and I think we should chase it and should make sure that it's on everybody's agenda, and it goes from top down, but also from bottom up. That made it really strong. So yes, we definitely have a very important role to play in how to create it within our organization and to keep it on the agenda. But let's say you always want to say people don't only talk about it, but they should feel it. And that's the most difficult thing, to get sure that people really, when they're stepping into a hotel and that's their new workplace, that they can really feel it. And I think one of the biggest compliments that we got from people working for Corendon, especially for the hotels, that we say we really have part of our mission vision is that we are family, and get the feedback back from people that they're saying it really feels like a family. And sometimes they can hardly explain why it is, but they just feel it to be part of the family. I think, okay, I do, sometimes I don't know how we did it, but it's just there. So we did something right in that case. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and it's still because we defined this culture and this DNA when you were still our HR director, and well, up to this day, we still living it, and we still try to select people on basis of that DNA. Um, but of course, well, people and culture always gives a lot of challenges. What do you personally focus on when you first step into these kinds of challenges with people or culture?
That's a good one. I always want to be very transparent, and people don't feel something is done behind their backs, or I have a hidden agenda. So everything should be fair. So fairness in payment, fairness how we treat people. If we do something for one of those teams, it should be done by the other teams as well, to treat people in an equal way. I think that's really important for me. And also something like justice. You get me angry, and to strive for, to make sure that everybody is treated in the same way. And that's really that's really important for me. Yeah.
Have you ever also underestimated a culture issue that later become like really big, or that you had kind of, okay, was totally not what I expected from the outcome?
Yeah, for me, it's really important. Like you said, if you feel that something is wrong in a culture, that you feel there somewhere in certain people have some negativity, don't have the right agenda, always go for their own interest and not serving the interest of other people. Don't underestimate what the harm they can do. Maybe it's only a small group of people, but the damage they can do to the rest of the teams, but also how an obstacle it can be to really achieve the organizational goals. And then it makes it really, really difficult to get them in the same way, that's in the same direction that we would like them to have. So that requires a lot of management skills of their manager. And also together with HR really, or to isolate that kind of behavior or to really address it, because you never want that people say, okay, especially apparently this is the kind of behavior that the company allows. So it has a bigger impact than only the behavior for some individuals. So if you don't treat it or don't deal with it in the right way as a company, it says a lot how you deal with that on the organizational level with that kind of behavior.
Yeah, true to that.
Yeah.
What is a misconception about HR that you once believed yourself?
I think I still had it yesterday. That I was actually entering a team meeting to do some explanation about something, and the team didn't know that I was joining the team session. So when I was entering, you see all those scared eyes and think, oh my God, HR is in the room. And the first thing I think, oh my God, people are still scared when the HR director is coming. I was just only there to give some explanation about something, right? And so maybe to say, I'm not only the hire and fire department, I'm always there to bring peace and good news. But apparently that's some kind of reputation that still exists within our current company. Yeah. So I always say when I'm now entering thing, I come in peace. I come in peace. Yeah. Yeah. White flag. I'm okay, guys. Nobody gets fired. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, sometimes it happens, so I understand. It's a funny example. I totally get it. Oh, HR is at the table. Then get scared. So
yeah.
What was a moment where a hotel's team was struggling with engagement and retention? And what did you do to turn it around? Because we're still struggling these days with engagement and, getting people in is one, but keeping them is like the real challenge. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I think one of our strengths at the time was really thinking out of the box, because every hotel will do the same. So you have to think about what can we do differently. And that was also, I think we were very close at that time, not only the managers, but also the HR team. What really drives our current staff members? What do they want? What is important to them? And of course, you cannot always make it tailor-made for everyone. But if we hear and listen and make it happen for each individual, and everybody in their comes in a different phase in their life, they have different priorities. And for example, if you have people who just become a father or a mother or become parents, they have different needs in their work, maybe more flexibility around the working hours, and maybe divide the hours into in a different way. So yeah, it's really important to keep them and to make sure we can are really open to what their individual needs are and try to see if we can do something different. But it was also brainstorming about what we can do differently. And like you said, we also work now with students, a lot with students. So also the close collaboration with the schools at the time that we set up. It's more like people had some kind of distance to the labor market, can see and help to close those kind of gaps and work with those people. So yeah, it's really thinking out of the box.
Yeah, thinking outside the box, of course, asks for a certain manager or leader. What do you believe hospitality leaders still underestimate about talent today?
That's a good question. But I underestimate, if you can.
There's certain
Yeah.
talents that, because there are a lot of people coming into the business with many talents. But a few years ago, everybody was doing the cherry picking, and now we are forced to look to have a broader, wider scope towards who we are hiring because, well, there aren't many people out there. Do you think that hospitality leaders still underestimate maybe a certain group, or that we don't see the talents in people? Due to the fact that we only want to have maybe people from hotel schools and not like mothers who want to work from 7 to 12, for example.
Mm-hmm. I think hospitality is one of the perfect industries where you can really be trained on the job and progressing your career by learning on the job. I think if you have the passion for the industry and you have the passion for people, not only for people working in your team, but also for the guests, you can do great within the hospitality business. Because you can learn so much on the job. You're exposed to so many different situations, difficult situations. Now we already said it, we can already write a book of everything that happened within the hotels. It's amazing, but I think that's also a great opportunity for people stepping out of their comfort zone. If something happens during their night shift and they just have to deal with it, and they have to always solve the problems on the spot. So that's why it's a great learning place for each individual. And I had 2 weeks ago, my eldest daughter wanted to go to the hotel school as well.
Oh.
So we went to an open day. And when we heard the presentation, and they say during their internship, they actually are forced to go abroad because every time the hotel school wants that all the students go out of their comfort zone. So they are learning, they will be exposed to different kind of situations. For example, in The Hague, they have to be in a room with a roommate they don't know. And then they are forced to if they have issues, just to solve it. And I think that's only not within the hotel school, but I think that's also on the work floor as well. So I think it's really an underestimated industry, I think, hospitality, because you learn so much about yourself, how you deal in different situations, how you deal with different kind of people from other nationalities, with different needs, difficult guests, easy guests, crisis situations, angry guests, and you just have to solve it. So it's an automated learning school.
Yeah.
And I think you can never have that kind of experiences that you are exposed within the hospitality in any other industries. Maybe what we have, for example, within Corendon, within the airlines, I think the experienced people our cabin crew have on board and exposed, I think it's also similar, but it's also, for example, hospitality. But it's amazing. And I think we don't have to underestimate just the people who just, our waiters who are just serving our guests. I think sometimes the way how they're exposed to so many different situations and they have to deal with it because the manager is not always around when things happen. And sometimes you make the guest even angrier and then you said, okay, hold on. I will get a manager. They want to have it solved on the spot and they have to deal and they want to deal with you at that time. So that makes it, I think, a very unique industry. Yeah.
Yeah, I still rate it as the best industry ever because there is so much to it. And I always say, definitely to students and trainees, we are in the best business. What do you like to do when you go in your free time? Oh, I like to go out. I want to go to a restaurant, go to a cinema. And I was like, that's all hospitality. So we're in the business of making people happy. And they're coming. Well, the whole world is in your hotel or in your airplane. So that asks a lot, but it's also the most fun. I'm totally convinced. So, what advice would you give young HR professionals who want to build careers within the hospitality industry?
I would say learn as much as possible because as an HR, you are exposed to so many different departments. Because we as HR, we see how every department, we have to deal with every kind of department. For example, if you work within marketing or sales, that's only that working area, but we are exposed to so many different jobs, positions. So you not only learn a lot about HR and how to deal with people, but also really how to run actually an organization, how all the processes goes, where are the responsibilities, how will all the communication go. So it's more than learning within HR. You learn a lot about companies, and my advice always would be very open to it. So ask the questions, dive into really the organization, not only from an HR perspective, because I always find it important to always know what the company goals are, and we make sure that we facilitate the company as much as possible to achieve those goals. And we all know that the human part is most important because you need them to deliver everything. And if that's not there, and if they don't look in the same directions, then you will hardly achieve your commercial goals, your organizational goals. It ain't going to happen. So if you're open to it, you can learn so much about how a company is set up, and it's a big learning curve for everyone at that time. Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful advice. Wow, I see. It's just like all days with you. When I'm talking to you, time really, really flies. So
yeah,
we're almost in it for an hour.
You're almost there. Yeah.
So yes,
and we can go on for hours,
yes,
but I think that's.
So I will put one last question for you. Of course, this is a podcast. It will be listened to by, I hopefully, a lot of people. But if this conversation is listened to by hotel leaders tomorrow morning, what is the one message you hope truly lands with them?
Make sure you have HR as your wingman. I think that's the most important. I think nowadays HR maybe, and also people and culture deserve to be on the be an executive boardroom, because it's becoming more and more important, and we can really make a difference in how a successful company would be.
I could not agree more with you. Nicole, thank you so much for being my first guest on this podcast. It really, really was a pleasure.